Kamala Harris devastated Donald Trump so badly in the first debate that he just took to social media and stated that there will be no third debate. Earlier this afternoon on Truth Social, Donald Trump sent out the following post, quote, "When a prize fighter loses a fight, the first words out of his mouth are, 'I want a rematch.' Polls clearly show that I won the debate against Comrade Kamala Harris, the Democrats' radical left candidate, on Tuesday night, and she immediately called for a second debate. She and Crooked Joe have destroyed our country with millions of criminals and mentally deranged people pouring into the U.S., totally unchecked and unvetted, with inflation bankrupting our middle class, etc., 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 yada, yada, yada." He goes on to say, quote, "There will be no third debate." This sounds a lot like the third stage of grief, where you begin to negotiate and try to bargain with the reality of what happened to you. Donald Trump, you got devastated so badly in the last debate that he cannot possibly get on the stage a third time. Now, this is something that I have stated very clearly from the beginning. There was no way Donald Trump could stand the chance against Kamala Harris.
First of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
And now he's trying to spin it. He's trying to turn it around. He's trying to make it seem like he's not the one who lost on Tuesday night. But we all saw what happened. History has already recorded that Donald Trump took the bait. Every time Kamala Harris poked at his ego, Donald Trump could not help but to take the bait.
Make no mistake about it. Trump had a bad night. He rose to the bait repeatedly when she baited him.
He was angry. He was flustered. He couldn't remember things.
It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact.
He had all the indication and the signs of cognitive decline. And everyone in this country, whether they want to admit it or not, understand very clearly that Donald Trump was not presidential, Donald Trump was not prepared, and Donald Trump did not stand a chance against Kamala Harris. And so now he's trying to back out of the next debate while trying to simultaneously not look as though he's afraid. But he should be afraid.
I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
He should be afraid because he doesn't have the substance necessary to stand up against Kamala Harris, and that was painfully evident for MAGA on Tuesday night.
I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
Polls are indicating that Kamala Harris has upped by at least 5 points since the debate. She's raised over $47 million just in the 24 hours after the debate. Conservative commentators all around the country have all admitted that Donald Trump lost the debate.
Kamala Harris pitched a shutout. On almost every subject I can think of. She shut Trump down on abortion. She shut Trump down on January 6th and democracy. She shut him down on national security and turned to the former president and said, the military leaders who served with you think that you're a disgrace.
And so this is really just Donald Trump trying to save face, trying to assuage his ego. He's trying to not deal with the fact that he actually lost. And we all know that he surrounds himself with yes men and yes women. People who would never tell him that he lost, people who will never correct him and tell him he needs to do something differently. And so, of course, there are people in his ear telling him, Donald, you won the debate. You did great. You were magnificent. Don't give her another chance. The real reason they don't want to give Kamala Harris another debate is because they cannot afford for a repeat of what happened. Donald Trump is not only predictable, but Donald Trump is easily defeated, and MAGA knows this. They have spent the last 3 days trying to come up with every conspiracy theory you can imagine to justify why Donald Trump lost the debate so badly. The first stage of grief is denial, and that's literally what they did. Donald Trump and MAGA ran around the country and social media trying to convince themselves and others that Donald Trump did not lose. Conservatives are completely taken aback because they honestly started believing their own lies. They honestly believed that Donald Trump was some type of genius, that Donald Trump actually had substance. And when he stood on stage with someone like Kamala Harris, it became painfully clear for the entire world that Donald Trump is completely and utterly devoid of substance. And so they've come up with conspiracy theories. First, they try to say that Kamala Harris was wearing audio earrings. earrings where someone was feeding information to her during the debate. Of course, that's not true. Of course, it was debunked. And if you really think about it and watch the debate, what kind of high-tier level genius would Kamala have to be able to speak and flow as brilliantly as she did while she's receiving information from someone else? They've come up with every ridiculous excuse imaginable for why Kamala Harris did so good and why Donald Trump did so poorly, except to accept the fact that Donald Trump simply is not a man of substance. Second, they try to say that she had all of the questions in advance. Now, while they have absolutely no evidence of this whatsoever, I want you to ask yourself a really simple question. Was there anything asked on Tuesday night that was not par for the course of what you would expect in a presidential debate? Questions on abortion, questions on immigration, questions on the economy and inflation. Of course, she prepared on the subject matters that are always asked during debates. Third, they try to say that one of the moderators gave Kamala Harris an advantage because they are sorority sisters. First of all, there are over 300,000 members in Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and Kamala Harris and the moderator are at least 13 years apart in age, and they pledged at different universities. But of course, they're going to come up and scratch for anything they can to explain why Donald Trump got beat so badly. And now, after all is said and done, they've finally given up and simply said, well, there will be no third debate. That's fine, because that gives us the next 2 months to make it clear that Donald Trump got defeated so badly that he gave up. He threw in the towel. You lost, Donald. No matter how naked the emperor is, of course, you'll always have that circle of people who will pat you on the back and say, you didn't really lose, Donald. Kamala had to have on James Bond earrings transmitting her a signal. You didn't really lose, Donald Trump. Kamala's sorority sister hooked her up. I mean, this really has to be a lesson to everyone. You can't afford to have a life where you're surrounded with people who won't tell you the truth. The hardest thing for us to do as humans is to see ourselves. We literally can't see ourselves except we look in a mirror. And Donald Trump has never had someone in his life that would tell him the truth about what and who he is. He's always had people around him who will coddle him, people around him who would baby him, people around him who would lie to him just to save him and spare him his feelings. And so he's grown up to be nothing more than a man-child, but he's a man-child that is now the problem of the entirety of the United States of America. And so he's going to hide out for the rest of the election to do his best to make America forget about how poorly he performed. It showed that he was easily triggered. It shows that he was easily baited. It shows that he had no ability whatsoever. Not one time did he not take the bait that Kamala Harris gave him during the debate. Can you imagine being so committed to your ego that you can't even realize that the person that you are going up against is using your ego against you? That's Donald Trump. And instead of confronting that reality, he's decided there will be no third debate. Well, that's fine, Donald. We'll just keep playing over and over again and remind America over and over again how poorly you did the one time you took the stage with Kamala Harris. She beat you so badly that you decided you didn't want to fight her ever again. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this channel, Really American, where, unlike Trump, we're always ready for a chance to jump into the ring with MAGA.